Welcome, everyone, and thank you guys all for joining us tonight on this roundtable discussion about episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. I am one of your hosts, joined by Luke and Hereth. Guys, what's going on?
Not much. How are we doing?
It's going great. We are going to be missing Char tonight. So if you guys have tuned in the last few weeks, it was usually me, Luke, Hereth, and Char. Char can't make it tonight. No big deal. But we are gathered tonight with a large group of guests, and it's going to be a great time. So without further ado, let's just start getting into our guests. And the first person we're going to be introducing tonight is Brian.
Hello there.
Hey.
How are everybody? How are you?
What's up?
We're good.
Brian?
We're good.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you taking time out of your night to come talk a little bit of Star Wars with us.
Always a pleasure to talk Star Wars with a bunch of fans.
Absolutely.
So just to kind of get us started, we're going to be asking you and everyone else, who is your favorite bounty hunter? First question. And then where can we find you and your amazing content?
Absolutely. So my favorite bounty hunter is a little bit of a cheat. I'm going to go with Reiko Hardeen, a.k.a. Obi-Wan Kenobi in disguise.
Interesting. That's a nice bounty hunter.
That
Right?
is.
I thought so.
So not actually Reiko Hardeen whenever Obi-Wan transforms into him.
Absolutely.
I like your answer. Big fan.
There you go, Brian.
That is the Jedi way, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I am on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram under Bpstoyle. Those are my first two initials and my last name, Bpstoyle. And I look forward to connecting with fellow Star Wars fans and nerds out there. So come check me out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Just
Yeah,
recently hit 1,000 followers on TikTok. So
Yes, indeed.
Nice.
Hey,
There you go.
congratulations.
there you
Thank
go.
you. Thank you.
There you go.
Big time milestone. And then we can drag in our next guest, which is Chase, Forward into the Black.
Hello.
Chase, what's up?
Nothing much, Book of Boba Fett.
The Bob.
Bob.
Robert
So-
A. Fett. Yeah.
Rob,
Mr. Bob A. Feet.
Fett.
Sure.
Bob A.
Whatever.
Feet. And then Chase, who are you and where can we find you and your content? And who's your favorite bounty hunter?
I am at Forward Into the Black on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, all the fun stuff. I don't really have a Twitter. I've also just started a podcast with a friend. It's every other Sunday. It is under the name Rogue Council. We're currently just doing an insight on all of the movies, the Star Wars movies. But my favorite bounty hunter is IG-88, mostly just because of the Shadows of the Empire boss fight with him is probably the best boss fight in the game. So IG-88 is really cool.
Nice.
Solid. His scene at the end of Mando season 1 is so noble.
IG-11.
Oh, wrong.
Different droid.
So
Same
isn't there
type
like
of model,
something, isn't there something in Legends with like all the IG droids were like the same and they kept getting remodeled, like copied? I thought I heard that somewhere.
I know there's lots of stuff around the IG models, but I was never into that,
Okay. Solid. IG-11. So we got one IG-11 and one Reiko Hardeen. All right, and let's bring in our next guest, who is Jesse, or Mentally Ill Sith Lord.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Jesse, what's up? Nice beanie, by the way.
Oh, it's not a beanie. It's a toque, guys.
He's Canadian.
No.
Yeah.
Took
Yeah.
brothers.
Not this again.
Took brothers.
That's
Right
what
here.
I like to hear. Yeah.
I love how they're lined right up against each other. So like,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like,
I
it's
think I
like
might.
the people who are cool get to be above and below. The rest of you are over. Oh, I'm reversed over here. Oh, directions are hard sometimes.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Jesse, where can we find you and your content? And then who's your favorite bounty hunter?
Oh yes. You can find my birds in this recording apparently, but you can find me on TikTok at Mentallyillsithlord. I apologize for that. And Instagram at Mentallyillsithlord and Twitter Mentallyillsith.
Nice.
My favorite bounty hunter, before we get another squawk in, is probably Boba Fett. Just because, we gotta stick to the original. I've never been a big bounty hunter guy, but when I was, it was a wannabe Mandalorian.
There you go.
Solid. You can't go wrong with some nice Boba Fett, especially with Book of Boba. Just like it makes Boba 10 times better.
Exactly.
And let's bring in our next guest, Corey and Nick.
Hey, what's up? What we doing?
What's up, guys? Welcome, Corey and Nick, to the stage. So just to get started, who are you and where can we find you guys in your content? I know I always tune into your guys' Twitch streams, so always hanging out there.
Nice. Yeah, we're Corey and Nick. I'm Nick. He's my Wookiee, Corey. We are on...
What are you talking about?
Yeah, look, I'm the Wookiee. We are on TikTok and Twitch at Corey and Nick, but there's underscores in between the words Corey underscore and underscore Nick. And we talk about Star Wars mostly, but pretty much anything pop culture related. And we go live every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. And we usually just let chat guide the conversation, talk about whatever they want to talk about. And my favorite bounty hunter is Cad Bane. That dude's just a menace, always a thorn in Obi's side. I love him.
I'm going classic Boba. Got to.
Solid.
Boba.
Can't go
Boba's
wrong.
good.
No, you can't go wrong with Boba.
Yeah. Oh, and Nick, you're an author, correct? You want to kind of shout that out?
I'm also an author. I never mentioned that. I don't know why. I probably should try to push my books. But I'm also an author. I write science fiction. I've got 5 books out currently, and I'm writing another one right now.
They are
Nice.
all very good.
They're all on Amazon under my name, Nicholas Lawrence Carter. Like, I dox myself because you could literally find me anywhere and find my name and address and all that. Like, it's everywhere.
I feel ya. Maybe someday we'll see Nick writing for Lucasfilm Press.
Dude, writing for Star Wars is
Hooray.
the dream. That is the dream. I would love to write for Star Wars, dude.
That'd
I'd be so
awesome.
happy.
We need to get
Give me
you
a bunch of
in,
Wookiee books.
Yeah, we need to get you into
I am here for it. There's not enough
certain-
Wookiee content. Not enough Wookiee content.
I would love to write a book about Wookiees.
We need to
Yeah.
get you in a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi.
Facts.
Something like that. Get a short story and then kick it all off.
Would
That'd
you
be
write
awesome.
that
Awesome.
book in Shriwook?
No, I'm not that dedicated.
That would be crazy because no one would know how to read it.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Wookiees would.
Wookiee, he could read it.
There you go. Hey,
Very
there you
true.
go. There you go.
And let's bring in our next guest, David or Xanatos.
Hello. I am Xanatos1138 on TikTok, Twitter, pretty much everywhere, but I'm more active on TikTok and Twitter. Favorite bounty hunter is Boba Fett.
Solid.
Fett.
You
Hey.
cannot go wrong with Boba Fett. The man's a
Boba Fett.
beast.
Boba Fett.
So yeah, David, keeping it nice, concise, right to the point. And let's bring on our final guest, Brooke.
Hey.
Hello, what's up?
What's up, Brooke? Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
And same questions to you.
Yeah, well, my name is Brooke. You can find me on most places at _bdazzler_ on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. I was blocked by Gina Carano on Twitter today or
Hey,
this week. So
let's go.
I'm in there.
Yeah.
And so gold star for me. And then I Twitch stream as well right now. My Twitch is B__Dazzler, but I'm probably gonna change it to match everything else. Yeah.
Awesome.
But
And
you
don't
also-
forget.
Oh, yes.
Far Away Factory.
I have an Etsy store called Far Away Factory. If you want some cool stuff, you can go check it out there. But yeah, there's some fun stuff on there, and I'm gonna have a buy one get one free sticker thing soon. So
Solid.
Yes. And I also know
And
that
Brooke
there's
made
a,
us
Yeah. Well,
some
yeah.
of these.
yeah. Well, we'll be getting some too. Don't you worry.
oh yeah,
And I also know for all the Padme fans out there, there's a nice little jacket in her store. So definitely go check that out as well.
I mean, she got everything from Star Wars. I know you just released a new Daredevil line with like earrings and sunglasses, right?
yeah, dipping into
stickers?
some of the Marvel stuff, and I'm sure I'll add more as things
you
come
love it.
out and whatnot. But yeah.
awesome.
Or if you want like a custom pair of shoes, right?
I can do that.
Yes.
She does everything. It's great. So go
Everything,
check
everything
her
you
stuff out.
need. Go check it out at Far Far Away Factory. And before we kind of get started, let's catch up with the chat. We got Gray in the chat saying that her favorite is Cad Bane. Oh, Brooke, who's your favorite bounty hunter?
Who's my favorite bounty hunter? If you think that I'm going to say Boba Fett, you're wrong because he's not a bounty hunter anymore. So I'm going to have to go with my boy Din Djarin because I love him so much.
There you go.
And he's obviously still bounty hunting.
And he's still a bounty hunter.
Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And right now, if you're watching, this is your spoiler warning for episode 5 of Book of Boba Fett. We don't want to spoil it for you. So if you haven't seen it, just
What are you
scroll away
doing?
now and then come back later.
Like the stream, come back later.
Make sure to like the screen, make sure to hit subscribe, and go follow all of our wonderful guests.
Yep.
Then come back later.
There you go. No more spoiler alert. Let's get into
No more
this.
spoiler. Yep. Wow. I mean, episode 5 was crazy. It was awesome. So just to kind of get everything started, and again, this is meant to be conversational. What were your guys' just overall thoughts on the episode? And I know later on we're gonna more deep dive into the episode, but right now, what was each of your guys' overall thoughts? And whoever wants to go first, just take it away.
I love the episode. I loved everything in it. Boba got cheated out of an episode of his own show. That's I really, and I have to say this episode was awesome. Everything in the episode, like getting a BD droid, the Naboo starfighter getting souped up, just the return of some really great characters. Like honestly, just the X-wing cops, making a return, so good. Boba got cheated out of an episode of his own series, and I'm like, ooh, it's awkward.
It is, but I think it works. That's the thing. It worked in a weird way that Boba's not in his own show. But
you want to know? Kev28 on TikTok made a really good point today on his video about it. So if you're calling it the Book of Boba Fett, if you think about it in terms of it being an actual novel, a lot of the time, not every chapter is going to feature that protagonist. Sometimes it'll be from the perspective of another character. And so I kind of didn't mind it. Personally, the episode is so good that I really don't care. And if you think about Kenobi is going to be 6 episodes. A lot of the Marvel shows were all 6 episodes. If we didn't get this episode, I think Book of Boba Fett would have been 6 episodes as well. I don't think it stole from Boba Fett per se. We just got a bonus episode that was always meant to be part of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, for sure. I know I just got done reading Aftermath. And after every 2-3 chapters, you get an interlude of something that's completely random and different that's going on in the galaxy. So that's a really good analogy.
Plus, speaking purely in television terms, the Book of Boba Fett is a spin-off of The Mandalorian. I mean, Boba was introduced in The Mandalorian. So for him to, for Din, rather, to make an appearance on Book of Boba Fett, I think that's very appropriate. And it's not unlike a lot of modern television today. I mean, you look at larger ensemble shows like Game of Thrones, you would go whole episodes only focusing on 2 or 3 characters at a time, and the majority of your ensemble cast wouldn't be appearing for a whole episode. So this is actually rather normal. Yes, absolutely, when you have a title character name in the name of your show, it's a little odd, but considering where this show is rooted out of, I don't think it's necessarily inappropriate.
I get where everyone's coming from with that, but I do agree with Chase that it felt odd, especially in the middle of this season, to have an entire episode and Boba's not even in it. And then when Fennec shows up at the end, it just felt like they shoehorned her in there because it's like, oh, this needs to make sense in the context of Book of Boba Fett. Has a tie somehow into this world. And I get the world building they're trying to do. Boba realizes that he needs a tribe. Din is going to restarting a whole new Mandalore. He's going to fit into that. I get it. I see the seeds are laying for the future, but it's in the middle of the season, after everything that's just happened in Boba Fett, we take a break to do this. I thought the episode was great. I loved everything about it, but it felt unnecessary to be on Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Now,
I loved the episode. It was great.
Okay.
It was great.
Yeah, I can't express enough how much I enjoyed this episode, but I will say the entire episode, I was every time they cut to a new scene, I'm like, Boba Fett. Okay, he's not there.
Yeah, nope.
Boba.
Same.
Nope. Okay.
There was one scene when he was on the Halo ring, for lack of a better term,
Halo ring.
where he walks out of the enclave, and he's turning, and the camera kind of zooms out, and it looks like there's a corner, and I was like, "Is that Boba?" And then they just disrespected Din's religion. They're like, "Give me your guns and get on the ship. Like, we don't have time for this." But I really liked it. I think I'm kind of biased because I finally got to see the Empire in modern media, in like live action, kick some butt. But like, I also was like, I don't know if I should cheer for them because this is like hardcore. Like, this is bad. And I was like watching Terminator. I was like, I can't cheer for the Terminator like in Skynet. So in this episode, I was just like, this is sick. But I'm not going to go around telling people that this was the best because I can't, not in good conscience. But it was awesome to see the actual like context of what the Night of a Thousand Tears was, and see the TIE bombers in the sky was like, I was like, that is what the Empire needed to reinforce that they're scary, because they've been beaten by teddy bears. So we need to remember, like, they are scary. Like, people were scared of them for a long time.
I was happy the TIE bombers finally got like their spotlight, and like it was like oh, because at Empire you get these little tiny proton bombs that shoot on an asteroid. I'm like, oh, these things are badass. We need to show how cool the TIE bomber is.
That was my favorite scene of the episode. I loved the callback to the Terminator with that, was seeing the IPDs and then the K2SOs just like in Terminator. I was like, oh, this is a great little like, not callback, but like reference. I loved that.
Yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard. Like,
I actually saw the same video that Brooke was referencing, and I totally agree with that perspective. And the whole time watching the episode, I was like, in my first viewing, I was like, okay, is Boba going to show up here? Nope. Okay. But it makes a lot more sense now, because the whole time I'm like, 7 episodes is a weird number. And now with this one, I'm like, okay, now this makes more sense. And then for Mando season 3, we can get right into, okay, we know he has a new ship. We know certain things about him. And I think the next episode is just going to time jump over the Mando season 3, episode 1, and just go right back to Boba Fett.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think there's also... Go ahead.
No, you're good. You go.
I think that also with the placement of this, because we've been wondering for over a year where Din is now, and we've got a lot of wonderful answers since Mandalorian season 2 ended in this episode here. I do think that the reason they put this in the middle of the Book of Boba Fett is that what happened in this episode is going to matter greatly to the last 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. Like, this isn't going to be, we see a little bit of Din in the next 2 episodes, and then he's set up for Mando season 3. I think the ship and a few other things are actually going to be in the trajectory for coming to the finale of the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. And I think something else to think about is, like, we got this whole episode on Din, right? And then we see Finnick at the end going to recruit him. Well, during this time, Boba also is doing something and probably out recruiting other people. So I think that's going to be something really interesting next episode. Like, because we don't see Boba this whole entire time. So what is Boba doing during this episode? And I would guess it would be recruiting, but we don't know.
That or taking a bath in the back of the tank.
Yeah.
He's going to the Polynesian spa.
Brooke, what were your thoughts on it?
On the episode as a whole?
Yep.
Overall. I mean, I loved it. Like, my soul left my body so many times. Especially when we saw that friggin' beady droid. Like, if Doctor Strange was right here, he would have like punched my astral form out of my body and like around my house, and then it would come back in, because I did not expect that at all. For like a split second, I was like, Cal? Where's Cal? And then I realized it wasn't BD1, it was just another BD unit. But I love that they put that in there. I think it was kind of also a little like troll from Favreau and Filoni, because so many people were like, oh my god, it's going to be Cal Kestis on Tython, like at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian. So I think that was a fun little Easter egg. I mean, I missed Din Djarin so much. Like, he's one of my top favorite Star Wars characters, and it was just so refreshing to see him again. Overall, I'm really happy with the episode. I mean, it didn't bother me that much, and as much as I love Boba Fett, did not bother me as much that we didn't get Boba Fett in this episode, because I think the last 2 episodes are going to focus heavily on what's going on with him. I feel like there's a lot of people that get the vibe that the next episodes are going to be like Din Djarin going to find Grogu. I'm like, no, that's set up for season 3, but there are, like Brian, I think you said that there's going to be stuff from the episode that we just saw that's going to matter in these episodes, not necessarily him going to see Grogu. So
yeah, I would agree with that, because like I feel like people are like incorrectly assuming, oh, he's going to show Grogu there. No, like this is all set up for season 3. This entire episode was just set up for the future episodes of season 3.
I totally agree. Who haven't we gotten their perspective? Have we gotten everybody? Oh, me?
What's your perspective? Yeah.
You've been talking to the TikTok chat for a while.
Sorry, I'm.
Oh, is that who you're talking to?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
But I overall liked it. I get where Corey's coming from. Of like it kind of takes away from it, like it takes away from Boba Fett. But I feel like this is a better episode for because us as Star Wars fans, not saying everybody, but like the typical Star Wars fan hates filler episodes, and I feel like they wanted to avoid that. And like I feel like this is a perfect way of not having all the fans be like, oh, that was just a filler episode. Like if Boba Fett doesn't do anything, like you don't have that excuse when you have Din, when you're having it progress his story and then it ties it all the way back. Like I like that aspect. I just know a whole lot of people weren't all the greatest.
Yeah. I know we got Gray in the comments who is big anti filler episode.
Yes. Yeah.
But
yeah, personally, I don't believe in filler episodes.
See, I don't like the term so either. I agree.
It's overused.
I think especially with Star Wars, as of late. So if you think about like the last 3 years of Star Wars content we've gotten. We got The Mandalorian season 1, which was like brand new because it was, oh my God, it's this new show from Disney Plus, the first action Star Wars show. Then we get The Rise of Skywalker, which wraps up the entire Skywalker franchise, essentially. Then we get Clone Wars season 7, which is like a big event. It's Order 66. What was Ahsoka doing during that time? And then we get Mandalorian season 2, which everything was like cameo here. We're getting Ahsoka. We're getting live action Ahsoka, Boba Fett. And then we got Luke. Like, it was all big stuff. And I think that expectation is up here still. So I know a lot of people, when The Bad Batch came out, they were expecting this level for all 16 episodes. But like, it's not going to be like that when you're building a show, when you're building these characters. You're going to have episodes where not a lot happens, but just because something doesn't happen in the plot doesn't mean that the characters aren't progressing. My favorite example of this is the Fly episode of Breaking Bad. You either love it or you hate it. Directed by Rian Johnson, so no surprise there. But it is like, if you've watched Breaking Bad, it is basically like that episode is a bottle episode when networks like run out of money or they're saving money for later in the season. So they just make an episode where it's like filmed all in one spot. It's really like inexpensive to make. But the story of it encompasses like the entire arc of Walt's character, if you really think about that episode. And that's why I like it so much. I can get why people don't like it because it doesn't progress the plot. But like, that's not always the most important thing when it comes to storytelling.
Yeah,
I agree about filler episodes. The term is thrown around all the time with very little context usually. An episode isn't a filler episode if it progresses anything in the show. Whether it's even just a side character's character arc, even if it's based in one room and that character grows a little bit, it wasn't filler. It did progression. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like this episode did this for Din specifically.
It did. It was a lot.
Because let me tell you, at the end of season 1 and season 2, everybody had these questions about, why didn't Din take the Darksaber? Like that, like why didn't Bo take the Darksaber? why don't they take their helmets off? Like all this and that, and a lot of it was explained in this episode, and that's why I think that's why I really really enjoyed it, to be honest, because it built on Din's character and it built a lot on Mandalore, which we haven't seen a ton of in canon besides like 3 arcs of the Clone Wars.
The majority of the stuff we get in Mandalore and Rebels. That's the majority of our Mandalorian lore.
Yeah, and Rebels. Yeah, I forgot about
think-
Rebels.
Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah.
I think one of my favorite
Of course.
things that someone said about this episode was they were talking about when the armorer is talking to Din, and they're like, "Did you take your helmet off?" And he just kind of sits there. And someone said, he's in the chat. It's Kieran. Kieran said it. Kieran said, "Why didn't he just say, well, these other people did it. Why can't I do it? why wasn't I allowed to do it? Why didn't you tell me about these people?" Because when we look back to the Heiress, he was like so shocked. He's like, "You guys aren't Mandalorians." So I really think it would have been so funny if Din was just like, this Bo chick did it, and her 2 friends, like, come on, like, cut me some slack. I want to say bye to the guy. Like, come on. And that was just a really funny thing that I remembered with like the Mandalorians was what we learned even in the Mandalorian and bring into this episode is these people are hardcore. Like they are to the bone Mandalorian zealots. Like I would even argue that these are worse than like the most hardcore Jedi, because even hardcore Jedi don't influence every Jedi. These Mandalorians, the influence they have on Din is like it could destroy his life. And I know we can't see his face, but when she kicked him out, I can just see Din being like, "Are you kidding me? Everything I've done and you're kicking me out?" Like, anyway, that's just my Mandalorian rant.
No, I think that's fair. I think that's
Someone
very
did someone did a really good edit on TikTok of that scene and just cutting to an earlier episode of The Mandalorian when he does take the mask off for Grogu and Grogu like touches his face, and then it just cuts back to "I have," and I think it's one of those things like that. I think Din understand. I think you're kind of at the point. I think he's at this crossroads of does he actually even want to be a Mandalorian anymore? Is his quest more along the lines of taking care of what he wants to take care of and who he cares about, which is obviously Grogu, or does he want to follow the creed of the Mandalorian? And I think I would assume this is mostly what season 3 will be about, is falling away from and no longer being the Mandalorian.
Or just redefining what it means to be a Mandalorian.
That's how
Because I think it's very clear that like the sect that he's a part of is a good allegory for like purity culture in religion. Like like not taking your helmet off can be kind of like a symbolic of purity. And I don't want to speak on like any specific religions because I'm not super well versed on any of them, but that's just kind of what it reminds me of. And you know, sometimes in those you do one thing wrong and it's like, well, that's it. Or if you decide to leave and it's like, okay, well then we're never talking to you again, or things like that.
Oh yeah,
I do love seeing where Din is in this episode after going through the journey that he went on in season 2. Like you can see that he has reverted back to what he knew before, what was comfortable before after losing Grogu. He's back to bounty hunting. He's got a lot of anger when he's using the Darksaber over the frustration of, normally he's a very good combatant and he's failing at holding this little metal rod that has no actual physical blade. But then he's also finding the covert and he's back with Paz Vizsla and the armorer. But because he's met the Heiress, he's not sure if that's where he actually wants to be anymore. And it's very clear in all of those scenes on the Ring World that he is really kind of at the crossroads, like Chase said, between where he was all of his life before this with the people that took him in, gave him a purpose, gave him a creed, and what he could be. And I think that, just going down the line with, future predictions, I think the rest of the Mandalorian is him figuring out how to become essentially the Mandalore, bring people together. He has the Darksaber, and then redefining what a Mandalorian is, and, whether that means bringing Death Watch into the fold or making them essentially the big bad, we'll see. But that's a more big picture down the line thing for the show. I think for now, we have an idea of where he's going next for seeing if he can get onto the planet at all to, bring himself back for his eyes of this, but also in the sense that, he is questioning if this way of Death Watch is the way for him now. You know, he was asking about Bo-Katan, and had the armor been a bit more accommodating in her answer, I do think he would have had a follow-up question about what's up with the helmets, why are they allowed to take them off? I think it's because he broached that subject and was met with such fierce resistance, like Brooke had mentioned, with the purity culture of just that, you know, absolute forceful rigidity of their beliefs, that he just dropped the subject and moved on.
Yeah. And to build on your topic a little bit more, I was going to say how I kind of viewed Din's arc in this episode is I viewed it as like he got gifted with the Darksaber, he beat Moff Gideon, and he's like, you know what, I'm not going to become the symbol for Mandalore. I'm going to go back to what I'm comfortable with, which is bounty hunting, because Grogu just lost. Now he has this new power thrusted upon him. He doesn't know how it works. He doesn't want it. He's like, if you think about Mandalorian, like in general, all of his arc, he's just getting thrusted on stuff that he just doesn't want, and he just has to like kind of get used to it and just deal with this new power. So I just kind of see him like being like, you know, I'm just gonna take this. I'm gonna leave. I'm just gonna leave Bo-Katan behind. I'm not arguing with her. This is mine. I owned it. I don't want it, but this is what it is, according to Moff Gideon. And yeah, so I just see this episode as him kind of going back to like what he's most comfortable with.
Especially Moff Gideon.
We also see like how much Mandalore was destroyed. And it's going to take one hell of a leader to build that back up, because
Grogu.
It is
Corky.
I mean, we've already seen that, like, you take one look at Grogu and then you're willing to, like, literally do anything for him. Because Bo-Katan in season 2 finale was like, I don't owe anything to you. And he's like, they took the kid. And she's like, how can we help?
Let's go.
Like, the child.
And like Cara Dune, the same way. Cara Dune, she was like, I can't leave.
Yeah.
He's like, they took the kid. And she's like, all right, I got the keys.
but like, here's the thing. Brooke is saying that about Cara Dune, and then she tells us that she gets blocked by Cara Dune. That is just so funny.
Get blocked by Gina Carano, okay?
Yes.
Separate character from actor.
There's a distinction between the two.
I don't want her in the show anymore, but like I
No.
can accept her from the last 2 seasons as the character. Cara Dune.
I feel that.
I do think the kind of like on the whole Mandalore thing, I think one of either episode 6 or 7, I do believe we will probably see a sit-down conversation with Boba and Din of what do we do from here? You're not wearing your helmet. Bo-Katan's not wearing her helmet. I am with these people that clearly know all about Mandalorians, but it's not working anymore. And now he has the Darksaber, and now he has a say in it. And I think we will get a very interesting, very introspective conversation between the two within the next 2 episodes. And I'm kind of really excited to see something like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I guess I'll kind of, so again, I have 5 questions. I think now might be a good time. I can ask the first one for everyone. And again, if you feel like you want to chime in at all, please do so. So the first question I have for all of you is like, there was so many different, just amazing moments in this episode, whether that would be the duel for the Darksaber, Din's new ship, the BD appearance, etc. So what was your favorite moment or moments from this episode, and why? And let's go to David first.
So there's definitely a couple, and I was thinking before when I first saw the BD unit, I was like, somebody's gonna check on Brooke. That was my first. And when I saw the sheet over the ship, I at first thought it was a pod racer, and I'm like, what are they going to do with a pod racer? Oh, it's an N1 starfighter. That's even cooler. And then as they're building it into like a hot rod, and they have that they kind of bore out the astromech area, and I'm like, that's where Grogu's going to sit. That's so cool. But my overall thought in that scene is like, where's he going to put the bounties? Where's he going to put like the cold bounties?
Strap them to the top.
They're going to tie like a tether and have it dangle.
I have a feeling he's not going to bring in anyone warm anymore. He's just I'm gonna bring you in cold.
He'll just tie a rope to them and put them on the back of the ship and just start dragging bodies behind the N1.
I have the about this N1 starfighter and why it's an N1 starfighter. The best part of the episode was running the Boonta Eve Classic in the N1 Starfighter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I was grinning the whole time.
Mhm.
I think the writers picked that ship for a very specific reason, and I think you're exactly right, David. That spot is for Grogu, and there are no rooms for bounties. I don't think he's ever going to do another bounty again once he meets up with Grogu again.
I'm kind of with you on that too.
It's basically going to be a 2-seater ship, and that's all he will ever need ever again.
It's not a bad take. I agree with that a ton. Open discussion from here, so anybody jump in.
I was gonna jokingly say for Malik's sake, they just put Ken Pink Schlop in that. That's all. Just fit him in there.
That'd be funny.
So I
You're
say
gonna summon
R.I.P. to all the Din Djarin X Reader fanfics, because now there's nowhere for Reader to hang out because there's only one seat in the show.
I could
or
see
that just
someone
makes it a
comfortably-
whole lot worse.
Yeah, I could see someone comfortably or uncomfortably trying to fit in the cockpit with him. You know, just a bit of a snuggle through hyperspace.
Oh my god.
A snuggle.
I actually find it very funny that, David, you thought that it was a pod racer beforehand, because really all that does is justify how easy it was for Anakin to fly that ship in the first place.
Yeah.
This whole
That's
episode
true.
was a love letter to the Phantom Menace.
It really was.
I did a TikTok on that exact subject right before this episode came out. I was like, oh wow, perfect timing.
I think to jump off of what we thought it was, I, being as blind as I am, was looking at the TV and I was like, "Is that Grievous's Starfighter?" And I was like, "No, it's
You're
not.
not
It's
the only
not
That would have
one.
been weird.
I
It's
thought it
not Grievous.
too. I thought that
And-
too, Jesse.
And then I thought it was one of his Magna Guard ships, and I was like, why am I getting this vibe? Then he took it off, and I was like, Naboo, are you kidding me? Come on.
I went,
awesome.
oh my gosh, Din's gonna fly a Y-wing.
Wow.
It's a little,
And they took it off.
little small for Wiley. but-
Yeah.
Yeah. Too close to the ground.
Can we just agree that that there was a 0% chance that was the same one that Anakin flew in the Phantom
Yeah.
Menace?
Yeah.
I've been seeing
Definitely.
that float around. And I'm like, sure, Anakin is from Tatooine, but they made it pretty clear that they basically erased Anakin Skywalker from most of history. Who would know that he did that?
And didn't he fly back to Naboo? Why would it be there of all places? That's
Yeah.
what I was wondering, because he went back to Coruscant after. So I saw this and I was like, what? Why are you guys assuming this? It's like, oh, that lightsaber looks like Obi-Wan's. It must mean that Qui-Gon is coming back. You know, it's just these random jumps to whatever makes sense. Whatever could possibly make sense is what is coming in now. Because it's just
Oh my God.
as you said earlier, we have this expectation all the way up here, which is starting to I said this a few days ago. I can't even remember who. I think it was to Hereth. We have this big, multiple project spanning mindset where everything needs to be connected. Every big character needs to come in, and I hate it because it's ruining our expectations.
Yeah, I agree.
That's fair.
It also doesn't allow for the small things really either. Everything has to be connected. Nothing can just be separate and can be enjoyed for being that.
And it's
Right.
the N1 start.
I
When
agree with
we look at the an X-wing, like a T65 X-wing, that is a Honda Civic essentially, right? And the N1, was not built by Incom, so it's basically a Mercedes Benz. That's just the way to look at it. And so it wasn't as widely made. So yes, could we say yes? That was at the Battle of Naboo. That particular starfighter was in the Battle of Naboo. One of the pilots flew it. Sure, I would believe that. But was it Anakin's? No. This just needs to be a Naboo starfighter.
Yeah, and I completely forgot that N1s could jump into hyperspace. I just thought they
Same.
were.
Yeah,
I
I
thought they were
can't
just.
remember that
I
at all.
didn't. Yeah, I didn't think because I always thought I didn't put 2 and 2 together because we do see 2 Naboo starfighters in the beginning of Attack of the Clones doing their little spin thing. And I never put 2 and 2 together. I don't know why I thought the N1 was just a regular starfighter without a hyperdrive, but I guess it does. So that was surprising to learn.
Well, Naboo style is just so extra.
It is.
Yeah.
It wasn't until someone pointed this out on Twitter, in the Shattered Empire comic, which is during Operation Cinder, there's a line where one of the rebellion like points at one of the Naboo starships and goes, "I wonder if these things have power or anything," and they just kind of walk off, and so they kind of like hint at it and like walk away from it.
Oh,
So I love that little foreshadow from like 2015.
Did and you guys catch this? And I'm like almost 100% sure it's a callback. So whenever Anakin's turning on his pod racer, he goes like this. He like flicks up the three things and pushes the button, and it zooms in on his hand doing that. And it did the same thing with Din. It did like the same type of.
It was very similar, but I think the buttons and the switches were a little different.
No, they're definitely different because they're completely different styles of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely a callback to that. Like,
absolutely.
Emphasize that.
Yeah.
Even Anakin did that at the end of episode 1. Like they zoomed in on his hand there. It's even further that a pod racer is just like the N1.
Yeah.
Okay, so they did. Okay.
That's like what Brian brought up earlier is like it is the control style of Anakin's pod racer and the control cockpit of an N1 starfighter are very similar for very specific reasons. The same reason we see Luke Skywalker playing around with the T-65 or the T-65, or I'm sorry, T-16 in the background, and then he's playing with the model, and then he knows how to fly a T-65 because they're both in comm, they're both together. And the same thing we see with Rey. She's taking apart a Star Destroyer, so she knows how to climb and which places to pull out on Circular Base. Like every single first movie has that in it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever quite got that. Who else has to go for favorite moment of the episode?
What was your favorite moment?
I've got two actually. The whole opening scene of him going to get that bounty, I thought was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And when he says, "I can bring you in cold," or "I can bring you," I was like, "Oh,
absolutely."
And I really did enjoy the him building the ship. I thought that was a really cool scene.
Yeah.
What about you? Nobody cares.
Boom.
No one likes you.
Turn of the favor.
I think something that's neat that they're doing, and they did this with Din and they did this with Ahsoka, is we basically predicted that we knew Ahsoka was going to come that episode. It was titled The Jedi, and we knew Din was going to come because it was called The Mandalorian Returns or whatever that episode
Return of the Mandalorian.
Return of the Mandalorian. And it was like they don't beat around the bush. The first scene Ahsoka shows up, the first scene Din shows up. I love how they did that, just because like if they don't do that, then you're like, oh, when's he gonna come in? When's he gonna come in? Instead, it like kind of catches you off guard because it's right away. And, that made that.
They did do that to me as a Maul fan in the last 2 episodes of season 4 of the Clone Wars, where I had to wait an entire episode just to see him losing his mind in a trash cave where he was just like... So I do agree, though, in live action they do this, but they hate Maul fans with that. But he's dead now, so I don't have to worry about it.
Well, they gave Maul the season before treatment. They went, "Ooh, Savage, your brother," and then they didn't say anything for the rest of the season. Came back.
Yeah. Little me was like, "What is this? Like, don't do this to me. I can't." And then he showed up. But that is totally off topic. I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, that makes sense.
I wanted to. My favorite. I mentioned earlier. My favorite scene as an Empire kind of guy is when the Night of 1,000 Tears happens. As I said, like the TIE bombers. That just shows the sheer like horribly powerful might of the Empire. Like we see them losing all the time. Occasionally they'll win, like Adelon was a big win for the Empire, but also almost a big loss. So they get these big wins, but at what cost? And this was just like they didn't lose here. There was no debate of whether or not the Empire was on the run. They said, "We know you're strong, but we can get rid of you." And they just went boom, 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 boom. And I was just like, Vanessa, for those of you who know Vanessa, I was sitting in VC with her and my camera was on. And she's like, "I saw you react to that scene as this bright orange flash went on your face." And my mouth just dropped. And I was like, what? Like, no way did they do Mandalore that dirty. And it was so cool. I've been needing an Empire book or something for so long, and this just made me want it more. And also, for those of you who know, TIE fighters, TIE bombers, Star Destroyers can't carry that many of them. So in my mind during that scene, I was like, how many Star Destroyers did they just like drop above Mandalore to deploy all these things? Or did they just have these things lying around? So that was kind of funny to me as a like Star Destroyer person. But yeah, that was my favorite part. I know a lot of people are probably just like, this guy, like he's borderline Imperial, but
Well, building off
What's really
what you said. Sorry, Carter.
real quick, it won't. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. But it's kind of the second time that Disney's been doing this in the animated show, just blowing up a planet, because we just saw Camino get blown up in the Bad Batch.
Yes.
oh yeah.
And the Empire's might there, which is really neat. But sorry, Hereth, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but yeah, I was gonna build on what Jesse was saying with. I love how they show this in this episode because I was not ready for it because like ever since they name dropped the Great Purge, like they brought the entire Mandalorian, they've just been hinting and hinting. I was like, are we ever gonna see this in a flashback? And then when it happened, I was like, oh my god, they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of hype I had, I was like, oh my god.
No, yeah, I see. Like both of you name like the beginning part of the episode, just fantastic. Just the choreography, the way it's set up. Like me and Char were watching. If you go back and watch the watch along, me and Char like, oh, so we're in a meat locker. Interesting. Like, this is how we're gonna start this up. Like this is like I was like, wait, hold on, this is too earthy. It's just throwing me off because it's like that's a cow. That's a cow. That's a cow.
I
then I was like,
moment.
Yeah.
Like I was like, because like the little plastic strips, I'm like, make them spacey at least. Like, we need like space plastic strips.
Yeah.
Come on.
But I was like watching him just take out all those guys, and I was just losing my mind. Just like, this is amazing. Like he like takes out the entire middle of like he just stabs the guy, throws him on top of the table, and then it's like, screw this. Wham! Just right down the middle, and I'm like, yeah,
Loved it.
This is amazing. And then also like I said earlier, like seeing Din like struggle, like he's struggling throughout this entire episode. He gets his ass kicked, or he gets like sharded from the Darksaber. He gets healed, and then gets like challenged for the Darksaber right away from a Vizsla, which, by the way, is voiced by Jon Favreau, if you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then he like gets thrown out of the Foundling Academy or whatever you want to call it. And then he doesn't have a ship. So this guy's losing almost the entire time of this, like the first half of the episode. And I'm just like, it makes so much sense. And I'm glad that we had this episode because there is a lot of questions about Din, like in what his motivations are. And we know what that motivation is. It's Grogu. It's ever since episode 1 of season 1 of The Mandalorian, Grogu is his priority. And it's going to be interesting to see how he handles like the whole Luke situation.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll be in Mando. But I like, and then seeing the Naboo starfighter just haul ass in the Bunta Eve, I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. Like literally the entire time, I was like, "Oh my god, this episode's amazing."
Yeah, it started off with a bang and ended with a bang. And then, did everyone go? Are we missing?
No, we've got part 2 of our people.
Yeah.
Well, besides the BD, that was obviously a favorite of mine. I have a couple favorite things. So other than the BD, my Star Tours loving heart has been obsessed with all of the Rex droids that has been in the show. There was the blackjack dealer one in the Garza's sanctuary, and then the like luggage ones on the cruiser. I love it.
So
It just
funny.
makes me so happy. Like I loved Star Tours, and now like DJ Rex in the cantina on in Disney is so fun. That little I cracked up when Din just like fell. First when he fell like to the ground, and then when he fell again like off the bridge, and he just went, huh!
Yeah.
That had me howling. And I was like, are they that's space? I was like, oh, jetpack. And then I really just want to acknowledge both the music, the score, and the cinematography of this episode. I think that those are two things that really make Star Wars for me. Really capture like the essence and magic and give me all the warm and fuzzies that Star Wars gives me, which I haven't been getting from Book of Boba Fett, which doesn't make it bad because as much as I love the prequels and the Clone Wars, I don't get that same feeling with those either. It's just different. Like, I get that feeling with The Mandalorian, a couple episodes of Rebels, and the originals, and most things in the sequels give me that like magic feeling. And there was I think maybe why people are so thrown off by this episode too, is that there is like a very stark difference between how it's shot and everything like that. Like Bryce Dallas Howard and the cinematographer that they had for this particular episode was just like chef's kiss, and I loved it.
There was I just thought of this. I saw Boba Fett do a video of this on TikTok. The scene where he's walking out of the elevator to deliver the head of the bounty, it's all like that entire scene up to when he walks up to them and then walks out to the elevator is all one shot. There's no cutaways at all. And that was just so cool.
2 minutes and 16 seconds of long take on that virtual set. That is very impressive.
Yeah.
Can I address the chat and say we need to know what the Star Wars version of a bacon, egg, and cheese is?
Unfortunately, it probably includes either the puffer pig or whatever it was called from Rebels or an Ugnaught. And I would prefer the first option because I do not want to think of an Ugnaught being eaten. It sounds horrible. But
Also,
I just was like,
bacon, Ugnaught, and cheese.
Yeah.
Choco, the pre-Empire Day Cyanery. You did not go there.
Yeah, you went there. You went there.
Damn.
That for a backstory, one time I don't even know where it was at. It was on something,
no.
and they said if you had to date someone in the Empire, who would it be? And I wasn't really, and I was like pre-Empire Day Cyanery, and then everyone was like,
Carter.
she was 10. I was like, no, she was 10. She was my age. But
Carter, no. But to go off like that magic feeling, there was one thing that really caught me when Din is flying through. It's Beggar's Canyon, right? That was Beggar's Canyon. All right. Glad that I was not imagining that I heard that. But when he's just flying and like zipping up and down, left and right, and first off, we can still see the wreckage. That's the word of the ramp from when Anakin hit it in the Phantom Menace. That was sick. But it also reminded me of Rey flying the Falcon for the first time in The Force Awakens. This just like pure excitement, like this is awesome. Like this person is having so much fun flying. Now, obviously, Din did not smash it off the ground right away, but that was part of the fun when she took off. So that was kind of a small connection.
Wait, she flew it perfectly though. What are you talking about?
100% perfectly. Never crashed at all.
Yeah, never crashed.
Mary Sue.
Sorry.
Sorry, I must for no reason out of nowhere.
No, but here's the thing. Like, just talking about that. Like, so somebody commented on my reaction of us doing the reaction, and they're like, "Oh man, I'm so glad they made Din struggle, unlike all the other characters that have used a laser sword and have been made a Jedi Master." And Vanessa comes in and she's like, I want elaboration. And the guy comes out and goes, well, Rey was made a Jedi Master when she was swinging the lightsaber around in Last Jedi. I'm like, bro, that's not how this
scene
works.
Where she became a master? Did anybody else see that?
Yeah. No, I'm like, so I like gave him canon factual evidence. I'm like, so she was made a Jedi Master after she destroyed Palpatine, which there's criteria to being a Jedi Master, but at that point there is no Jedi Order, so there's no real like criteria. So it doesn't really matter like if you want to be knighted or not.
I think dying
Yeah.
gives her the ability
That's
to
true,
become a
too.
Jedi Master. I saw this, and this wasn't even about Rey. On one of my friend's videos, he talked about how Kanan was a Jedi Master, and some comment was like, Kanan wasn't a Jedi Master. And I was like, I think his sacrifice and everything that he's been through by the end of the show kind of declares him a master. And the guy went on to be like, oh, well, she doesn't have enough experience. He doesn't have an experience. And I was like, I will tolerate no Kanan Jarrus slander on my Christian Minecraft server.
I saw that comment. I was like, I should respond, but you handled that comeback. I was just like, it's so I just gotta leave it. Like, I can't. How could someone do Kanan like that?
And they like came back and they're like, yeah, she stole the name. I was like, bro, I've made several videos on comments of like this. Like in the novelization, Luke and Leia look at her and say, it's yours, Rey. Like how more punch you in the face can it be?
But she can't be a Skywalker though, because like apparently adoption's not a thing.
Yeah, you can't change your name. I can't
Found
be
family's
Solo.
not a trope of Star Wars.
Like the whole thing was Solo. What's your last name?
Solo.
It's not his real
Writing
last
the
name.
Oh, that's not fair. Then he's not a Solo. Like Han, it's Han. Yeah,
He can't be a Solo. None of the clones can have names. Padme can't be Padme. Leia
Boba Fett
can't
can't
be
be
Morgana.
Boba Fett.
Boba can't be a Boba. This is how the real world works, man.
Anakin can't be a
Sorry,
Skywalker.
guys.
He has to be Anakin the Force.
Oh my god.
Anakin the Force.
Only Skywalker,
Anakin
and
the
the
Force.
strongest Skywalker will
No,
always
what-
be Skywalker.
Yeah. Hereth, what do you mean? It's Anakin Palpatine because Palpatine made Anakin.
Oh, don't
Hey,
hate
Anakin,
father.
guys. Did you know that?
I'll leave.
I also hate that argument that Rey is not a Jedi or not a Jedi Master. How is Luke a Jedi Master? Because he was the only Jedi.
Yes.
That's why Rey's a Jedi Master now. She's the only Jedi that we know of that's currently alive after Rise of Skywalker ends.
I don't want
Therefore,
to.
she's a Jedi Master.
I don't want to deviate too far from Boba Fett, but I will say the one thing that has always bothered me about A New Hope that no one ever brings up is the non-reaction of Obi-Wan when Luke is handing the lightsaber and he just turns it on like, oh, you don't know how to use that thing. I don't know. Like handing a toddler a gun and be like, oh yeah, they just fired it in the house. Who cares?
I like in Lego Star Wars: A Complete Saga when he just cuts 3PO's head off. Just
It's
gone.
amazing.
That's canon to me.
But rounding us back to Boba Fett, I think my favorite part of the episode was whenever, and it's kind of relates whenever Brooke was talking about Kanan, was Din training with the armor how to use the Darksaber almost directly parallels how Kanan was training Sabine to use the Darksaber. And as like a giant Rebels fan as I am, that just made me so happy.
Although we all preferred Kanan over the armor because
Actual statement.
she was just disrespecting him. Like,
Yeah.
at least Kanan was just like, "Oh, I won't do that. I won't do that." She's like, ha, "Bonk!" Like,
I
go
did
on.
like that she was speaking Mandoa though. That was cool.
Yes,
Yes.
that was awesome.
Real quick, going back to the whole Luke holding the lightsaber thing. There you go.
Yeah.
He just turns it on.
Obi-Wan's sitting there like, oh shit! No, don't do that.
Do it. You'll save me a lot of trouble if you do it right now.
Yes, I get to train Leia.
I was about to say, he
Yes,
wants her to do it
Leia.
because they want Leia anyway.
I'm going,
Yeah,
I'm going
and
all
that's very
around.
much-
I'm tired of
and
this place.
that's very much hinted at in well, it's actually stated in
It's straight up stated.
the point of view in The Empire Strikes Back by Yoda. So that's interesting.
I
But I
would
just
state it
throw
too.
that in there as
I
well.
prefer Leia.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to because we were talking about it. I had to show that picture. It's funny. But anyway, continue. Sorry, I derailed this.
Anyone else? Did everyone say their favorite moment of the episode?
Did you say your favorite moment already?
I did way earlier. My favorite moment was the flashback to Mandalore to show how
okay.
Yeah.
everything got destroyed. I loved that. That was so cool. I've been waiting to see something like that.
Brian.
Brian?
I piggybacked on a bunch, but I will say my favorite aspect. I have two. I loved the ring world of Glavis. I thought that was so fun to explore. Like, I didn't play a lot of Halo. I know that concept is not new, but it's new for Star Wars. And to just have like that cityscape and also like quadrants of it be daytime and nighttime interlocking between in like different areas. I thought that was just absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to give a shout out to Carson Teva showing up at the end. I love seeing him show up. I love that actor. I'm a Rebel Legion member. He's a Rebel Legion and 501st member in real life.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you were 501st.
Well, I'm Rebel Legion. They are technically two different groups, but the
okay.
Lucasfilm cosplay groups, yeah. I don't
That's
like the
awesome.
Empire that much. I'm a Rebel guy, so. But I'm sorry.
It's a
I
good thing
getting
Chase is in
wings. What
between
can I
us.
say?
There's two of us and one of you.
The other Rebel pilot was Max Lloyd Jones, who was the body double for Luke in season 2.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which is cool.
I gotta say, it's weird knowing that he will be Uncle Iroh and seeing Uncle Iroh in Star Wars now. I'm just like,
oh yeah, he is.
Oh,
Make him Luke. It's Luke.
Good thing I've not seen Avatar: The Last Airbender.
What are you doing?
Oh,
that's not a good thing. Hold on, that's not a good thing.
Right
Mark
now.
Hamill's in it. Mark Hamill's
Get out
the
of here.
villain in Avatar.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here.
We just throw him into it. No.
Oh my god.
I have destroyed the balance of this.
See, now you
I
messed
go
up
with you. I've
the
never seen
order
it.
too.
I like
Yeah,
Now
you
messed
should
up
be
the
at the
order, Luke.
bottom.
I was like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah. I love it. Oh shoot, I messed up me and Jesse's. Oh darn it. It's okay.
Oh, what's wrong with you, man?
It was for the joke. It was for the joke. It worked.
Well, you've ruined everything else. Was it worth it? No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yes, it
Was
was.
it worth it?
It was
you
worth
put
it.
you put the Bucks fans closer to each other. I guess that's where that belongs.
That's what's up.
Let's
Yeah.
Let's go. We can cry together.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Carter, David? We heard yours, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Everybody got in.
All right.
I think so.
Let's move on to question number 2. I know we touched on this a lot, so I think we'll just kind of make this an open floor. I don't think I'm going to directly ask each and every one of you, just because we already talked about this a lot. But with Din Djarin having a lot of the spotlight for this episode, do you think it was a bit weird to not include Boba at all? Just kind of leave it open, just because, again, we touched on this a lot already.
It's Boba's show, and he's not in there at all. I thought it was very strange.
I mean, Finnick's there to give it like a direct tie-in to the Book of Boba Fett. And like from what everyone else has said here already, like there's reasons this episode exists and there's reasons that it was on this show. But it felt weird to not have Boba like at all. Not even at the very tail end for just a second. He just wasn't there at all. That was a little odd.
Yeah.
But like at least the episode was incredible.
Yeah. I think in place of like Fennec, as much as I love Fennec, I think Boba and Fennec showing up, or just Boba, would have been that. Okay,
or the Gamorreans.
It is his show.
Just the Gamorreans.
We are still watching. We are still watching Boba.
And maybe this is super irrelevant, but I think if this was a series that was like a Netflix series where it was released all at once, I think maybe it would have been like, okay, yeah, this is just the Mandalorian episode, and then the next episode. But we're gonna be 2 weeks without Boba Fett in the Book of Boba Fett. I think that's
a lot of back to tank time.
He's enjoying that Polynesian spa.
That's what they said. He's good.
He's all good now.
And hopefully
he's
he won't get
done with the
ripped
back
out
to tank.
again.
He's training the Rancor now. That's what he's doing.
He's learning how to ride it.
The Polynesian spa.
We get my boy Danny Trejo last week and I have to go a whole week without him. This show, dude. Can't do it.
I think the structure of the show in general has been a little weird. Yeah. I watched a YouTube video from Screen Crush. If anyone else watches them, they made a video. I made it in my tweet. Made it into their last Easter egg video, by the way. Not to brag, but he made a video that was like why the flashbacks in Boba Fett don't work when they work for lots of other movies and TV shows that have similar like storytelling. And it made a lot of sense, like the way that the show is structured. I think it probably would have benefited more from being chronological. I think they kind of shoehorned themselves in to it being kind of a flashback situation because we already knew that Boba had like taken over Jabba's palace. So they were kind of, I see what they were trying to do, like tying it into that. But I still think the show would have benefited from like it's starting with him in the Sarlacc and then just having a progression until we get back to the point that we started at the end of season 2 of Mandalorian. And I don't dislike the show. I've been really enjoying it. I just think that like some of the structural issues are also why like this episode in general felt so jarring compared to the others.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's 100% right. Just because there was I can't remember if it was episode 2 or 3 where like the entire episode was a flashback, and then you like briefly touch on like the modern day aspect of it, and it's like, what is this? Is this like, is it all in this, or is it all in this timeline? So it is kind of, I've like you said, I really enjoyed it, but it does feel oddly paced.
Yeah, because
I don't know. I loved episode 2 is my favorite episode so far in the season. I love that whole Tusken Raider flashback. You get all that awesome lore, which makes me really excited to see what they're going to do with the Kenobi show. If they follow anything that they did in the book. I know the book's not canon, but I loved episode 2.
Don't get attached to that.
I know. I'm not. Believe me, I'm not.
I know, like, I understand people saying that, like, it structurally feels odd, like Brooke says, and I do agree with that, but I love this show. I love this season. I love that it feels odd. I don't love that it always feels disjointed, but I like that the narrative isn't, like, the narrative structure isn't cut and dry. It's not something that we see on every show all the time. It is a little oddly paced, but it works for me. Like, I honestly like this more than season 1 of Mandalorian so far. It depends how they close it out, if that's going to stick around. And I don't think there's a shot in the world that I like it more than season 2 of Mando. That's like legit impossible. But I love this first season. Like, I'm excited for more of Book of Boba Fett if they do more after this series, after this season. I really enjoy it.
It feels very Robert Rodriguez, which makes sense because Mandalorian feels very Jon Favreau to me. So I think these showrunners and executive producers, or whatever you want to call them, are going to put their like flair into the shows. And we don't want, I mean, some people might want everything to be exactly the same, but I like that it's like fresh and different.
I mean, there's nothing more Rodriguez than the Vespa racers trying to track down the mayor's like little crony buddy. That was the most Robert Rodriguez scene I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like, oh, you can tell this guy made the Spy Kids movies. Like,
having Danny Trejo bring in a Rancor, was like the best thing I think I've ever seen personally in Star Wars. Of like, yes, bring in the Rancor, Danny Trejo, and then open up a bar full of tires in the back of the palace.
He was the perfect person.
Yeah, so good.
And again, like kind of going back to Brooke's comment, I know it's the Book of Boba Fett discussion, but I feel like you said, each show is gonna feel like their own flavor. Like Deborah Child's gonna bring her own flavor to Kenobi. Filoni's gonna bring his own flavor to Ahsoka. Like again, like if you don't like the flavor, just come on, wait a couple more months and you'll get another show.
Yep.
Fortunately, I like all of them so far. So. I mean, I just love Star Wars though. So put it in front of me, I'm gonna enjoy it.
If you don't like one, just move on.
Yeah.
It's kind of like reading a book or different Star Wars books. Without spoiling, it's like the 3 main High Republic books are each telling a story that is connected, but each have different styles of telling that story. And it's kind of like if I were to read a Charles Soule book, for 3 books, I would probably not be too into it just because that's not the type of reading I enjoy. That's not the type of writing style that resonates the most with me, but I enjoyed it as a standalone book. And then it went to Cabin Scott, and then my favorite, Claudia Gray. So I am a bit biased to saying that I would read multiple Claudia Gray books, but I like that we can, with these shows, implement different kind of styles, different aspects of what that person likes about Star Wars, instead of just being like, this show is entirely like this, and this show is also going to be entirely like this because it's Star Wars and it has to be the same. If Star Wars was all the same, I would not want 9 movies that were exactly like A New Hope. Yeah. I would have not been a Star Wars fan this long if that's what was going on.
I love Claudia Gray too, but quickly, the Charles Soule slander right now, I will not sit for. I will not join.
I like his comic writing. That is what
I was just about to say that. I actually like him more as a comic writer than an author, but I think he's a fantastic author too.
Oh yeah. Most canon books have been a hit. But I'm gonna leave out Heir to the Jedi. We're gonna put most, and then we're gonna put Heir to the Jedi.
Yeah, I think I've read close to 20 now, and every single one of them, it's like, oh, this is really good.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think now we can kind of move into the next question, which is on Getting back to Boba Fett. So I kind of mentioned this earlier, but we see what Finnick, I guess, was out doing, and we see a lot what Din was doing this whole episode. And whenever they mention in episode 4 that we're gonna need muscle, do you think that they're gonna need more muscle than just Din? And if so, do you think we're gonna see more people? And how do you think that that's gonna kind of be revealed next week?
Carter, it's
And
not
David
a question.
looks like-
Mace Windu is showing up.
Oh my God. Jesse.
Remove Jesse.
Yeah.
Jesse, you have been voted off the island.
So
we're not two screens. I could get you out.
Yeah, right.
I've got
the
this.
Canadian.
I've got this image of a scene.
The 2 rebels are on top above the Imperials.
Now Jesse's beside me, and I can give Jesse a high five.
The timing may not match up, but I just have this image of Bennett coming back with Din and Boba being like, "Where have you been?" And then like music cue happens, and like a bunch of bounty hunters just come onto screen. Like, I found all these guys, something like that. But I don't know. I don't think the timing is going to work out quite right for that.
Personally, I
When
want to
they-
see Bosk on the other team.
Yeah.
I want to see Chrysanthemum rip off Bosk's arms.
Yeah.
Why are you,
For the
why are you
love
so
of-
against Trandoshans, man?
I'm not against Trandoshans. I just love
Yeah.
Wookiees and like
So you
Like,
have
seeing
to be
him-
against Trandoshans.
Yeah,
because
absolutely,
That's the, yeah. Okay.
ride or die,
Yeah.
ride or die, like Wookiees all the way. But like seeing Chrysanthemum like be a complete badass in like every single episode that he's been in, even in the second episode when he just shows up, and he's just like, he like steals the show. He just doesn't say a word. He just shows up with his big gun and a. He's just awesome.
Have you read any of the comics he's in?
Yes.
Because he's a beast in the comic run. I love him
Yes.
paired with Afra. When he first showed up, that was what made me most excited. It's like, Chrysanthemum, can we get Afra soon? Like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
If you give me Dr. Afra, I can stop watching.
And
I love it so much.
what do we think the likelihood that she's going to show up in live?
100%.
And
It's
who
not
is
even a
she gonna
question
be
to me.
played by?
She's gonna
I don't
show
know,
up at
but
the
they
end.
better get it
Why'd
right.
you take my
Oh, man.
Wookiee? Why'd you take my
Why'd
Wookiee?
you take my Wookiee?
Who would play her?
Luke, are you saying that Chrysanthemum was cool when he did that little like look back and forth and then run away
Yes.
at Jabba's palace?
I mean,
that was cool.
he looked kind of lame there, but I'm like, dude, give bro a break here. He just,
I mean,
like,
respect
plays,
that he
like-
ran back to
Dude, he did.
Mos Espa.
Oh yeah, dude, yeah. Dude, that's not an easy run. Come on now, let's be
He's a
real.
big boy. He's got a lot of fur. He was hot into there.
Dude.
Oh yeah.
And that's why he was like pounding. I like to
Pounding
think he was
back.
drinking what they were drinking in the High Republic, that really strong drink, and he was just throwing those back like they were like nothing. Port in a
What's
storm.
the-
Port in a storm.
Sport in a storm.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what he's taking.
yes.
and it's
Sport
like
in a
the-
storm.
it's like
That's
the-
not in High Republic though, is it?
Yeah,
No,
it
that's actually from
mentioned-
Bloodlines.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it's
in
from Bloodline,
Bloodline.
but
I
it's
think
in
they
Bloodline.
mentioned it in Fallen Star. I'm pretty
Yes,
sure.
they do.
Claudia
It's
likes
in-
to bring back some of her like old.
I think that's
Topics
an
and
Old
stuff in her-
Republic.
Is it in-
Oh, I think it's a continuing drink.
Yeah, Port in a Storm.
I think that's in one of the Bane novels.
It's in Aftermath too. I'm pretty sure.
Dude, I'm telling you, Port in a Storm,
I've heard those Bane
Wookiee
novels.
ripping,
Oh well.
just breaking. Oh my god.
Let's see
Like
what
that-
what books
that
are
whole-
Port in a Storm?
That whole fight scene in the fourth episode, like when he's like, she's like trying to talk him down, and he's like, "No, dog." Ah! And then he just is like a boss, and he's like, "Here's your tip. I'm getting the hell out of here." Like I've proven my point.
So
But-
speaking of Chrysanthemum, why does it seem like him and Boba don't know each other when they have worked together before for Darth Vader?
See,
I
I
Why
mean-
don't,
does it seem like he doesn't know him?
I don't get that vibe.
That's
I don't.
weird.
In
I
episode
get-
4, he says,
You're
"Hey,
not.
mate."
That's what it seems like to me. Is he just the first time he's met the guy? He may have heard his name, but he doesn't know him.
I don't
I-
know. No, go ahead, Brian.
I think that the dialogue for that scene was actually written very safely on purpose because Disney, well, Lucasfilm and also Marvel, they know with these Disney Plus shows, they're playing to multiple audiences.
Mhm.
Lucasfilm has been for decades now because you have the fans that are into Legends, formerly the Expanded Universe. You have people that are into the shows. You have people who are only into the live action shows. You know, like we have a bunch of folks who know the Mandalorian lore from Rebels and Clone Wars, and people who are learning it for the first time through the live action shows. So I think they're writing it in a way where it can be interpreted both ways. So if you have read the comics run, you have that. And if you have not read the comics run, then you can just see it the other way as like, oh, okay, it's the first time they're talking, and not feel like you're actually missing out on something.
That's interesting, but I still think they could have done it in a way that it more alluded for the people that did know, because I do know about the interaction. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, they've never met before. To me, it didn't seem like they knew each other at all.
Well, again,
this is odd to me.
I would say in episode 4 they hint that they know each other, because when he first sees him again in episode 4 and he's walking out of the bar, he goes, "Hey, mate."
Yeah.
He's like kind of like here we go again.
And also in episode 3.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Well, and also episode 3, like when he takes off the bounds, he's like, "Stop working for Skugholes." But like it's like the way Boba says that line, it just like hints that like, bro, we've done this whole dance before. Like, why are you doing this? Like, go work for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. See, you're wrong.
How does it feel to get proved wrong?
Feels good. Feels good. Since I'm always with you, it never happens. So I like when it always happens.
Oh my god, this is my house.
Oh my god.
But who else? Because I know Luke said you want to see Bosk play for the other team. Who else would you guys like to see?
Cad Bane,
for sure,
all day. I don't even care what he's doing. He doesn't even have to do anything. Just give me a cameo.
He could be a crotchety old bounty hunter in a chair yelling at people. I don't care.
Yes.
Just a head in a jar. He's just
Just
a
give me
rolling
Cad.
head in a jar at this point.
Because who all could we see? We could see Ambo. Could see Cad.
Who was that bounty
Bosk.
hunter in The Force Awakens with the red helmet who was going to take Finn to like off Takodana? Do we know if he was
in
working
Bar?
during that time, or was he? Because I think that would be a cool tie-in to the if we had some bounty hunters who were just kind of like throw offs, like you've seen them like once or twice. I mean, if you've read anything, like you know more about him, but to people who don't know anything about like Dengar, like they've seen him once, or if they've seen the Clone Wars, they've seen him twice. But
Dengar would be fun.
Dengar would
awesome.
be fun. But I think seeing someone like obscure like that would be really cool. But again, I'm on the Cad Bane Bosk hype train. One, because I just want to see a Wookiee and a Trandoshan potentially work together and see that kind of like, you enslaved my people and made us into carpets. And like,
well, that kind of interesting that you mentioned that, because I feel like they kind of foreshadowed Kersantin's like thing in the bar with the Trandoshan who's holding the Wookiee pelts, but this could also be a foreshadow for him having to actually work alongside a Trandoshan later on in the show. It makes sense to me narratively, so that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
it would be.
Because I know a lot of people were like, "Why did he just like attack them and rip their arms off?" And like, if you're a hardcore fan or you know a lot of the lore, you know that like they traditionally hunted Wookiees and other creatures like that. But yeah.
That also works for a casual fan, though, who may only know about Wookiees from ripping their arms off when they lose a game of Djarik from A New Hope.
Yep, true.
Like, that's the nice thing with some of these, like, the writing on this show is actually rather specific. I mean, it's nice that they have, something that works at that deeper level, where we can go, oh, yeah, that's space racism between the Trandoshans and the Wookiees. Or we can go, oh, that's just what happens when a Wookiee feels like he's lost. He just gets mad and rips arms off. And it works in both ways. So the casual fans have something, and the deeper lore fans have something. I love that about these shows.
And either way, Wookiees are ripping arms off.
Yep.
I really wish they had kept that in Force Awakens, where Unkar Plutt comes and Chewie just rips his arm off.
Yeah, if we're gonna get more Wookiees, I think a grown-up Lumpy ripping people.
Oh my god, grown-up Lumpy!
That's what we need.
Lumpy is canon. He's canon.
If we're gonna get a Wookiee, we gotta get a. I never know how to say Gungi. Is that how you say his name? The
Gungi.
Gungi.
Yes.
Gungi, yeah.
If he's dead, I'm going over to Star Trek. I'm done.
They're
Unfortunately, Jesse.
An Inquisitor Wookiee?
He's probably dead. Buryaga. See, the thing about Buryaga is whenever
Stop
he gets
it.
mad, whenever he just
all
whenever he
right,
gets mad,
guys, High Republic,
he just
remember.
cries.
I think
How
It's
dare
sad.
you? How
I
dare
think-
I'm not
you?
ripping on him. I'm just saying a fact. Burry's like the most emotional Wookiee ever.
He's an
I-
empath, okay?
Yeah.
Leave the guy alone.
Focus.
He has feelings. Are
I
Jedi not
love
supposed to
that's
have
I
feelings?
love him because of it. I'm not ripping on the man.
All right, good.
Luke, just because you are a welcome mat in D&D doesn't mean you speak for all of them, okay?
Hey. My welcome mat saved your. Actually,
No,
No.
I saved you.
yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
true. But yeah.
I just want to put it out there that Chrysanthemum is on one of the variant covers of Crimson Reign.
Yes.
And I'm still waiting for Kira.
Come on,
Yes.
Kira.
Yeah.
I'm losing a little bit of hope. I'm holding on to the fact that Moff Gideon wasn't introduced until the second to last episode of The Mandalorian. And we're at the second to last episode of Book of Boba Fett. So, like, could happen. Could still happen.
Keep holding on. Let go.
Also, I had a question. So when Din got out of the elevator and like walked into that little like place where he was going to drop the bounty off, did anyone else get like Crimson Dawn vibes?
Yes.
Because
yes,
I walked in and I was like,
yes.
why does that look like Dryden Voss's ship? Like it had the same kind of vibe. And I was like looking I paused it and was like looking for any sign of like Crimson Dawn stuff. And I couldn't find it and I was sad, but like I had that thought. I wanted to see if anyone else did.
I feel like I want Kira so badly, but I feel like we're starting to do a little bit of a WandaVision thing where we're just like looking and lasering on one thing and being like, the Kira's gonna show up. And then, like, like, the most minute details, be like, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, Boba Fett.
It was a woman. Kira's coming.
I'm interested because the one thing, this is kind of getting into like Mephisto territory, but when Din is like about to leave, that like beak person or whatever was like, I have another job for you, and then he like doesn't take the job, but I'm like, someone has to take that job. Who's gonna take that job? Are they working with Crimson Dawn? It has to be. Maybe we'll get another bounty hunter out of it. But that's just like tinfoil hat me. So
And also,
I do think we'll get Crimson Dawn, though. I do think that's going to happen. When they first mentioned that, like, Boba needs like muscles to go against like the Syndicate or whatever the heck they were called, my first thought was Crimson Dawn, but I was like, oh no, obviously it has to be the people from his past. But who do they work for?
So
is there someone that is an overlord of the Pikes?
Yes, so that would be Crimson Dawn. Crimson
that's
Dawn
what I'm
at this point they are the Crimson Dawn as we know of right now. Until Crimson Reign changes everything, right now Crimson Dawn at this point, or back in the comic, was the one that was running with the Pikes. The Pikes were answering to
they
them.
were all tied together in the Shadow Collective.
Yeah.
Not one of them was the definitive leader. So I think we will see that eventually, maybe because Crimson Dawn becomes less and less mentioned, like overall, that they must have merged into the Pike Syndicate, or as we know, are becoming like a shadow, like an actual shadow leader, not just this group of people. So I think that they, like you said, do lead the Pikes. But as far as I remember, they were only just grouped together. So I think if the Pikes got their butts kicked by Boba and his boys, like I think maybe like a very end we could see Kira being like, are you kidding me? Like, come on, guys.
I just need more Kira.
And we also have to like really think about like Crimson Reign is her taking on the Sith. And as much as I also want to see Kira, but she's taking on the Sith, and we know how those two Sith die. Like, it's not looking too favorable.
Dude, Cal Kestis took on a Sith.
True.
We're fine.
True.
We're fine.
With Kira, I think we will get a very similar style appearance of Kira that we got in Solo with Maul. Like she will not be a part of the Book of Boba Fett, but she, I could see her literally being the end, in the same way that, Mandalorian season 1 essentially ends with the Darksaber is the big reveal. And I think, it's one of those things of maybe all we get is Emilia Clarke's voice,
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like, I got a job for you, Boba, Robert.
There's also the possibility of Run, Riv, and Die. I know me and Luke are really big on this. If you've
That's
read
the biker
Bloodlines,
gang. It's the biker gang.
because I think like he's a big presence in this time. I think it would make a lot of sense, even if it's just a name drop. I think like he's definitely there doing something.
Well, building on what Chase said was like, I've been saying this as the end stinger. I'm probably gonna get proven wrong with the stinger, but I've been saying this is gonna be the stinger for a while. Again, going back to what me and Jesse's conversation about how everything needs to kind of weirdly connect. I feel like the connecting point would be like after the bounty hunters are over, like basically deal with the Pike Syndicate. Like, what are we going to do next? I can see Boba throwing down a hollow image of Thrawn, going, "That's our next move." Like the remnants of the
who?
Empire, Thrawn.
I do
throwing
remember that conversation.
I don't know.
because
But
like
I think. Oh,
Like,
go
I
ahead.
think Thrawn is safe for Ahsoka.
because like you need to kind of like weirdly connect because like they said that all these shows are connected in a weird crossover event where like it verges on one point, and you need to kind of get everyone against the remnants of the
The
Empire.
Chiss Ascendancy
you're-
versus
I
Crimson
think you're right. I don't. This is not. I know this is going to sound super biased. It's not. We will not get a live action Thrawn until Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron.
No, I'm dead serious. It makes the most sense to bring Thrawn in for Rogue Squadron because
Okay, explain
Ahsoka?
yourself. Explain
Not
yourself.
Ahsoka?
no,
I
mean-
Ahsoka comes out first, though.
I think
Yeah.
I
Or
get
Welcome
Chase's
Out
point of like Rogue Squadron. They said Kathleen Kennedy said that all these things were connected and like and would come together in like one big cinematic event or something along those lines is what she said when these shows were all announced. And I think that Rogue Squadron, if this is like if Chase's like idea is like right, that all these things would come together to the New Republic finding out that this really dangerous ex-Imperial is still functioning, and then they all go after him in the movie. But I also think like I'm more of he's going to show up in Ahsoka, but I could also, now that you've said that, see him showing up in Rogue Squadron as well.
I can see him being introduced in Ahsoka, but not be a threat until later.
I
Like, I
Thrawn
feel
will-
like if she's looking for Thrawn because she's looking for Ezra, he's going to have to appear somehow. And like, we don't know what they've been up to all this time. And like, Thrawn has a way of like making people like him. So I feel like he won't be a huge threat until later, but I'm not super versed on Thrawn, so
it's not canon, but the X-Wing and TIE Fighter games of the 90s, like that was a huge part of Thrawn, and I do think that Thrawn will. I have a very, very big hunch that Thrawn will be the main villain of that film.
That's gonna be awesome.
I'm here for it.
Thrawn's such an amazing villain.
Yes.
I was thinking with the idea of like a end for like Mando season 1 where they show the Darksaber. I think if they were to do a season 2, it would be awesome to see Crimson Dawn, if they keep going, to go against Boba's criminal empire on Tatooine, and then Boba just kind of like take down Crimson Dawn and be like, and you're all mine now. Like Kira versus Boba would be so cool because we know Kira can kick butt. We saw her destroy Dryden. Like that was.
Do we want to see Boba die on screen though? Like fighting Kira?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Would Kira be way faster than Boba? Probably.
And would not be upset that Boba just dies, and it's like, there you go, it's the Kira show now.
That would be interesting.
I would love that personally.
Same.
Or if it was a 2-on-2 Finnick and Boba versus Kira.
Okay, let's leave Finnick out because she's got to live.
I agree.
Let Finnick live.
I think Finnick's gonna. I think Finnick. If Boba dies, Finnick's gonna take over the Syndicate. And she's
No,
gonna-
Fennec dies, and Boba is left with Fennec dead.
I would absolutely love.
Wow, why you gotta go that dark,
Heresy.
guy? Come on.
No. What do you mean? Why do I gotta go that dark? Did you watch this episode? Did we watch the same Mandalorian scene?
I guess that's true.
I have a question I would love to ask you guys. Just, I mean, not to throw off the questions being proposed, but
no, you're good.
obviously, when we go back to like when all the Disney Plus shows that are upcoming were announced, like Andor, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, what have you, R.I.P. Rangers of the New Republic, but Book of Boba Fett was not amongst those announced shows. And to date, with only 2 episodes left, we don't have any word on whether the show's even going to get a season 2 or not. So, will this show end up being connected into that Filoni-verse of live-action shows?
I think it's a possibility.
I feel like strongly it will be.
I think we don't know how this season's going to end. Maybe this does end. I don't see them killing off Boba Fett anytime soon. Mostly, I mean, let's be real. He sells toys. I can see Boba Fett and his personal army, essentially, that may consist of Din, and maybe it consists of a lot of the other bounty hunters. Like, it'll probably consist of Kersantin and Afra. Maybe Boss gets brought into it in one way or the other, and it consists of the Cyberpunk gang as well. Will just become another faction within the Star Wars universe that we will just see pop up in other storylines.
That could be cool.
I would be 100% down for that.
I would too. That'd be awesome.
The Book of Boba Fett is just his contact book. That's all it is.
It actually
down for that,
me.
but not with Afra being in it, because I want her to be way more than just that. But
her own.
We have a lot of her in the comics, though. I just want to see her in live action.
I feel like if we're going to see Afra, it has to be in Kenobi, because I feel like time range wise, it would make the most sense. Or Andor.
That'd be awesome.
We try to avoid Kenobi
Andor,
talk
yeah.
here because if we do, I just become very feral. We get so off topic. Don't bring up that show.
Meaning Luke?
Goddamn.
No.
Yeah, me.
Luke.
I meant me. Sorry.
Well, Luke,
Sorry.
don't worry. Kenobi's going to be the worst show of the year because Andor's going to be better.
Can you kick him out again?
Yeah, he needs to go.
I've done too much. Here.
I will say, I think people's expectations of what Kenobi is going to entail are like obscenely high.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I know in
Retweet.
the Star Wars shows that we've gotten so far, we have gotten a lot of cameos from other characters. I don't think we're gonna get that in Kenobi because they've already announced we're getting Hayden back. So that's what the big one. We're getting Owen and Beru. And I'm willing to bet that all of the other at least cast they've already announced are new characters that we'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without getting too much into it, I just think that the more I hear people talk about, oh my god, this Kenobi, I'm like, shut up! You're making me not excited for this show, especially all the where's the trailer? It's like the No Way Home of Star Wars right now, and I'm tired of it.
I think there's unfortunately a lot of fans that aren't ready for Obi-Wan Kenobi to become old Ben Kenobi, which I assume is what the show is going to be about. It's not going to be Kenobi, the great Galactic Republic general running around slicing everyone with his lightsaber every 5 seconds every episode. I assume it's going to be a very meditative kind of a show. And people seeing the reaction to Boba Fett, I'm already cringing for the reaction to that when he's not killing droids every 5 minutes.
Disney ruined Obi-Wan is going to be all.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
They really making billions.
Very,
it's a terrible company.
Where it's gonna delve into the mental effects that Obi-Wan has from being through a war. He never got to sit down and process Satine dying, Anakin turning to the dark side.
Yeah.
He never got to say goodbye to Ahsoka, which probably isn't as big of a deal as I'm thinking it is, but he still spent a lot of the war fighting alongside her. Cody turned on him, all these big things. I feel like the show is going to be oh, you wanted this? No, sit down and watch how disturbed this man is. He's living on one of the most disgusting backwater planets in the galaxy on his own in the middle of a desert, and he's got to deal with everything he just went through. Even though it's been I think they said 10 years, that's not going to go away because that's all he's going to be thinking about.
Be 6 episodes, 45 minutes each of Ewan McGregor just bawling his eyes out.
Yeah.
If they aren't hour-long episodes, that might be the one thing that I might write about. But
it's going to delve into how Jedi really, really deal with grief, because we know they struggle with it a lot. We see it a lot with Anakin, obviously, and other media in the Old Republic, High Republic. But
The
we
Ahsoka
haven't
book
seen.
too.
Yeah.
Yep,
We haven't seen
Oh,
Obi-Wan just sit down and be what did I just witness? What just happened? So I think that'll be hardcore Jedi stuff, which for a Sith fan, maybe you'll go to the dark side, guys. Maybe we'll get dark side Obi-Wan. I'm just kidding.
No, but I think now might be a good time. Ask the last question. Luke and Hereth, do you guys think that's
oh yeah,
Yeah,
Good.
go ahead.
Yeah, go
Next,
ahead.
we're about an hour and a half, about perfect time. So one more time, we're going to go round. The final question is, who do you think is going to train Din Djarin with the Darksaber?
Oh.
And then also, where can we find you and your content? And we'll just we'll start up at Brian, then we'll just go down and make a zigzag S. So we go Brian, Chase, Corey, Nick, Xanatos, Brooke, Jesse. So Brian, you're up first.
I think that it makes sense for, especially if Din is going to visit Grogu, for him and Luke to have a couple of conversations and to bring up the Darksaber. I'm fully emotionally prepared to not see that on screen.
Yeah.
I would love to see that on screen because I am the biggest Luke Skywalker fan I know. And that return of Mark Hamill with, the motion capture and everything for Mandalorian Season 2 it brought me to tears. But I don't see them making that a regular thing. We want these characters to stand on their own. I would love to see that, but I'm really preparing myself just in case it doesn't happen, that it turns into, I got a couple of tips from this Jedi I know, and that's all we hear.
And then where can we find you in your content?
You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at Bpstoyle.
Hold on. Can we just acknowledge this? Me first? Okay, I'm Brian. You can't find me. I don't exist. That's okay.
That's
So the
awesome.
joke is that Brian with the beard is also named Brian, obviously. So he thought he was answering. So I just had to throw that out there.
Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah.
Totally
I didn't
obvious.
understand.
Right over our heads.
Well,
Hey.
totally not the obvious joke.
What was his name again, Luke?
Brian with
Michael.
the beard.
Never heard
But
of
if
him.
I have a beard, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is the fight of the year. I don't need Vader or Kenobi. Let's go right now.
But for real, Brian, thanks for coming on. We had a great time. Thanks for joining. Chase?
Thank you guys.
You can find me Forward Into the Black on TikTok and YouTube and also Twitch. I've just started a podcast at Rogue Council on YouTube. But who is going to train Din Djarin? I firmly believe that Brian is right, and he will just have learned it. But if I were to make a theory, if we're connecting everything and these are all little crumb trails, like this, especially this last episode, Cal Kestis is going to train him how to use.
Ooh, I like that.
But yeah, that's who I think is going to do it.
Awesome. And Corey, Nick, both of you.
You can find us on TikTok and Twitch at Corey and Nick. There's underscores between all the words, so Corey _ Nick. I want Luke to train him, but not Skywalker. I want Luke. I want to get the second Luke. That's what I want to see happen in live action. No, I would love to see Luke train him, but as Brian said, I'm prepared for it not to happen and for it to be like an off-screen thing, or for someone else, like maybe Cal or something, to do it,
Or Ahsoka.
or like Ahsoka potentially. But I want it to be Luke. But however they do it, I'm sure it's going to be something that I'll enjoy. All right, next, he's done.
I said my piece. I said Ahsoka.
You want to see Ahsoka?
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
That would be
Awesome.
David.
David?
So as much as I agree with Luke being the one that trains him and it happening off screen, which would be fine with me, I'm good with whatever. But I kind of think to come full circle, they would have Sabine do it.
Mhm.
Oh,
Like,
totally.
Whenever she comes to the
wow.
picture, having Sabine do it. It just makes the most narrative sense to me. But I don't know how Luke would be like if he were to ask Luke and Luke be like, well, I'm not a Mandalorian, so you might want to get a better perspective, blah, blah, blah. Like some way to justify him not doing it. But I don't know how they'd work that.
Why not both? Ahsoka and Sabine.
Both would be great too.
Tie him into the first episode of Ahsoka. Bam.
I got some tips from a Jedi Master, but can you teach me like the Mandalorian way to do this type of stuff?
Oh.
And you can find me Xanatos 1138, mostly on TikTok and Twitter, but that's my name everywhere.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Brooke?
My first thought was Sabine as well. I don't know how they're gonna do the Din visiting Grogu thing, because I don't necessarily want Luke more. Like, I love Luke, but it was so powerful and magical the way he was brought into The Mandalorian season 2. I think any more might take away from that. So maybe you guys are right and it'll happen off screen, but I know they have like the casting rumors of Sabine in the Ahsoka series, but you can't have The Mandalorian without Sabine, who is a Mandalorian. And I think narratively, I think she's going to be in season 3 of The Mandalorian. If Din is going to try to, I think he's going to maybe hook back up with Bo-Katan and like the Night Owls, and if they're going to rebuild Mandalore, like poetically, Sabine, who had a hand in accidentally destroying them, it makes a lot of sense for her to come back in the show. And like her family is still around, I would assume at this point. Maybe not, but they're gonna have to find more Mandalorians to rebuild Mandalore. And she is the only one that we've seen, at least in canon, that has the most experience with the Darksaber. And she got her training from Kanan, who is, was the best at the time. So that makes the most sense to me if they're going to kind of tie these shows together. I don't know. I just want to see it. And like, I think Bo-Katan knowing Sabine already, there's not like any weirdness about like her just showing up. Like Bo already knows her.
Yeah.
So I think they can make that work, make it make sense.
I agree.
But you can find my stuff at _Bdazzler_. Anywhere that you have social media like TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Twitch.tv/B__Dazzler. And then check out Far Far Away Factory and give me all your money. I have to pay bills.
All
Thanks.
the loonies and toonies.
No, yeah, absolutely.
All the
Thanks for
loonies
coming
and
on.
tooties.
Wow. Well, I was going to continue the Sabine train because that was my thoughts. But I also, for some reason, just realized Bo-Katan had the Darksaber and lost it. So I was thinking there's no way it would happen, but it would be so funny if he asked Moff Gideon, like, how do I use this thing? Like, how do I use it? It's too heavy. And Moff Gideon's just like, come on, bro. It's not that hard. But I don't think that would happen, but I'm also kind of like, that would be really cool. I think Sabine is my like number one choice, but also potentially Bo-Katan would be kind of maybe a choice. I mean, if she lost to some guy who's part of the Empire, then maybe she's not the best with it. But I think she understands how it works, and being able to teach him like this is how it works. Like it's an extension of you and all that stuff. I think she's at least knowledgeable enough to teach him that. So I think Sabine or Bo-Katan would be awesome, and a random throwaway one, obviously Moff Gideon. It'd be even funnier if Grogu learned how to talk and said, dude, lightsabers, easy. Let's get this going. That's not happening.
That'd be hilarious.
Where you can find me, Twitter at MentallyIllSith, and then on Instagram and TikTok, Mentallyillsithlord. I post a variety of things, but I'm hoping soon to get my own kind of setup going where I talk about Sith. As my name implies, I do like Sith. So there we go.
I'm with you on that. I'm all about the Sith.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining. I mean, we had a packed house tonight.
Yeah.
Thought this was a great time. Great talk with all you guys, meeting some of you. And then you obviously find me, Car2D2 on TikTok. Hereth, where can we find you?
Hereth Productions on TikTok and on They Fly Now show every Monday.
We're talking about Ray Skywalker on Monday. So
Hey.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
come watch. It should be a good time.
There you go.
Luke.
You guys can find me at the Pod Ones Podcast on TikTok, Pod Ones on Twitter, and Pod Ones Pod on Instagram. We are here every Friday night, Roundtable, collaboration with They Fly Now. And then we also have our Clone Wars rewatch, which ironically we had Julia Christine last night on for Corky Kenobi, and everything that dropped for this episode of Book of Boba tied pretty much into everything that we talked about in Mandalore. So that was awesome. That was a great time. So go check out that episode. And then we also do watch-alongs for every episode. So we've got a ton of fun stuff coming down the pipeline. And I'm grateful that we can get new faces in here. And I appreciate you guys coming in, giving us a little bit of your time, because I know schedules are busy and whatnot. And everybody in the chat, thanks for coming. And for that, for Light and for Life,
We are all the Jedi.
and may the Force be with you.
Ride the storm.
Always.